Welcome to the Atlanteans, a podcast about Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms, created by the Hampton Roads Atlantean gaming community. And now to our hosts.
And hello, this is Alec of Acted and Confused. We are going to be getting ready to do a live episode of the Atlanteans Podcast. I have with me Joe, who is my co-host.
Hey, this is Joe. How you doing, Alec?
I am doing well. How are you doing today, man?
Good, dude. I am painting a Virager, and I'm trying to make it look like it is made of obsidian, but like full of magma on the inside. And I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be trying it. What can I say?
I love that idea. That's super awesome. Right now, I am actually painting the Abyssal King still. Okay. And we are waiting right now to see if our other co-host is going to be able to join us. He had something come up, so hopefully he will be able to join us and we can talk about other stuff. If not, we are probably just going to chat about what we want to do possibly in the coming year or what we're currently working on for the coming year.
Dude, I'm glad you're painting an Abyssal King because I want to do it, but I'm very glad to have someone go before me. You know what I mean? Like
I do.
It is a hell of a model. One of the best I think they've made.
I
don't know what you think.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I love the amount of detail on it. I'd say that there's probably, if I have one complaint, it's that there is so much detail that you can just get into the weeds on it, and then
that is like
stuck.
The problem of these Mark IV models. I think. Like
yes,
they definitely lean in that direction. You know.
Yeah, it can be a little rough. I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to get my colors set for people that are watching. I am trying to find there's light brown. Yeah, so I've been doing the scales and things like that for the past few weeks. Okay. I actually got the orange in. I had to do 3 layers of Nova Orange, and then I also was doing the fluorescent orange on top of that to really bring some color in. And I also did the blue, the translucent blue over here to try to make it very, very bright. And then I was doing some different blues and purples on the tentacles themselves. And then I actually was able...
like that fluorescent orange. I picked it up today, no kidding, for my Lava Frog project.
I love it.
I haven't cracked it open yet. So.
All right, so I should just say, you need to make sure you develop the base really well.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if you just put it on, it's just too thin. Like, it's great if there's a yellow base or a red base, or like in my case, I did an orange base. But if you just try to put it on something straight, I don't think it doesn't pop as much.
Okay. My hope is that when I airbrush it onto this frog, it will make the bits that I've painted bright, like even brighter, and it won't do anything to all the dark bits, or minimal stuff to the dark bits.
Okay, I hope so.
Just give them a little bit of OSL. I don't know if do you think that is likely, or am I?
I mean,
am I dreaming?
You might be dreaming a little bit. You might have to put you might have to go and do right? Yeah, you might have to do a couple of coats with it, but you might get lucky and it might just turn out really well. Yeah, if you look on, I guess you can't see what I'm painting, but I showed you earlier.
Yeah, I'll go find your switch real quick. All right, I got a computer here.
But you can see the difference between 3 coats of Nova Orange versus the fluorescent orange is just night and day difference. But it took me doing nice thin coats of Nova Orange to try to build up because I didn't want to just glob paint on.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a great looking color, man. I think it's already looking really fantastic.
And then this is where I tested the barnacles out, and I was using Pro Acrylic, pale yellow, light umber, and dark umber. And then I do a pale yellow base, and then I bring a light umber on top of that, and then I water down a dark umber, and that's what is kind of like the wash. But now that I got translucent brown, I might not need to water down, and I might just use the translucent brown. That was something I got for
translucent brown.
I got the entire translucent from one of my siblings for Christmas.
It's a good gift.
Yeah, so it was like 7 or 8 paints, and I'm excited about that.
My mom sent me a text and she was like, "What kind of paints do you use?" And I was like, "Oh dear Lord, please don't buy me paint. It's such a hard gift to give."
That
Your
is,
sibling nailed it though. That was great.
yeah. Well, they asked me like what I wanted, and I gave them like hyperlinks of like these are them, because like I'm slowly starting to pick up all of the pro acrylic. I mean, not all of them.
Yeah,
I'm
me
probably
too.
like halfway.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just one of the things. But like I like it took me a little bit figuring how to blend with them because I was so used to doing the P3s where I could just wet
Apparently,
blend and everything.
P3 I guess was just really good for blending.
It
Um,
really for wet blending especially.
yeah,
Like
it's just just built for that. I didn't. I mean, it's not a technique I use very much. It's one I want to learn, but yeah, it'd be hard to go from that to something else, right?
yeah, let me zoom in on this a little bit. I was trying to adjust the camera so it's a little bit better. Um, but yeah, when I did the rope and the line over here, I really liked, but that took me like 5 different colors of blending to get it just the right to look like, soaked and sodden line that had like on it. Because I
Yeah,
have that problem where
definitely.
like I want it to be perfect and
Yeah, I feel yeah. Man, I mean, painting is always a compromise, right? Between like how much time you want to give to it and like how much more you can afford to spend. I get that.
oh yeah, it's rough sometimes because you want everything to look perfect and awesome and amazing, and then you just realize you don't have the time.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that I eventually get exhausted and just give up, right? The
Oh,
trick is to give up at the right spot, right? Like,
I
I
don't.
mean, whenever you paint a model, there are things that you're not satisfied with, and like, nobody else maybe notices that even, but you know.
I think for me, like I am probably harder when I'm painting for a friend. Like I think probably the hardest I ever painted was when I was painting for Sheila when I was trying to get her to play Grimkin,
Oh man.
and she would be on TDY while we were in Germany, and I wanted everything to look beautiful and perfect for her,
Hmm.
and I would just strip a piece and start again. Like if I screwed something up, that's just what I did.
And really, like, she'd be okay with it if it's not perfect, right? She
Oh
like
yeah,
totally be happy with anything, or like, she's excited to get the minis, like, but
yeah.
it's hard for you as the painter, right? Like,
Well, like I wanted her to know how much I like wanted her to play with me and to play a really well painted army.
hmm
And maybe I don't do everything perfect as a husband or whatever, or as like a friend to her. But I was like, I can make this thing look really good as a painter.
yeah, yeah,
And especially with her when she was traveling so much, I was able to just to put that dedication in.
spend that time.
Yeah.
I guess she doesn't travel as much now.
She does, just yeah, definitely not as much as she was. Like she was doing when she was in the band over there. Um, it was just a lot of TDYs, and they were also gone for weeks at a time.
Yeah, because they're not gonna send you. They're if they're gonna spend the money, they're gonna spend it, right? Like they
Oh
wanna.
yeah, like if they're gonna send you, on a tour to Poland and Bosnia and all of those different places, they're not gonna just send you like a day here, a day there. They're gonna send you all over the place. And I mean, she's a really
Uh,
good musician, so I understand where they want to share that with other
yeah,
places.
that was the thing that like surprised me about the army, right? Is how good the band is, but it's really, really good. Like you don't think about it as like an outsider, right? But then when
Yeah,
you start thinking about it, you're like, wow, this is a really, really elite band. Like people really want to see this. They've got an important job. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like so let's say you want to go in and you want to be infantry. No one goes in knowing how to be infantry before showing up, unless you're like a prior service in another thing, and even then, it's not going to be
Even
how the army
then,
does it.
yeah, I agree. Yep.
But in the band, they expect you to have years and years of skill and talent. Like most of the people coming in at least have a bachelor's, if not a master's or a PhD, and they've been professional musicians outside.
Yeah, and it's such a hard. I mean, music in general is just so competitive, right? And here's a gig where you get a real salary and you like,
Yeah.
You get a ton of performances, and yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's well, especially like if you look at like in symphonies, how hard and cutthroat they are for not only position, but for also just getting a paid gig in general. Because everybody wants to be a paid musician. And in
Oh,
the
yeah.
army, they're like, sure, yeah, you can be a paid musician. Let's go.
Yeah, I think about it for my daughter a little bit, and I'm like, I hope you love music. I hope you don't try to make a career out of it. I mean, not to offend anyone. If you can make it work, more power to you. Just hard life, hard road ahead of you, right?
I mean, I have a
I
couple
mean,
of
your wife
friends
is
that are,
doing it, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, more power to her.
No, I have several friends who are professional musicians, and they talked about that it's like 1 in a million, like legitimately. Like if you, let's say you have a band and you're in college, and then you
Mhm.
think you're going to go past that. Well, probably about 1 in a million people is going to be able to go and make a career out of it, if that.
I mean, I believe it. Like, it's hard, right? Because people want to do it, they love to do it. Like, it's just hard to be in an area where people want to be, you know?
Well, it was like I heard someone talking the other day, like, oh, I want to be a major YouTuber, and I would do stuff like this, and I was like, well,
Oh
you probably
man,
do it because you love it. Don't do it because
dude,
you
because
think you can make money.
yeah, I mean that is the modern equivalent of I want to be a musician. Right? I want to be a famous YouTuber, right? Or I want to have a social media account. And yeah, people are doing it, but man, does it seem hard.
Well, I mean, like I just think about with us, like we are not big. Like, as much as I
We're
think
having
we're
fun.
cool,
I
but
think
we have,
I like what we're doing. But yes, I agree with you. Not big. Uh-huh.
but I mean, you look at someone like, I don't know, who in the internet makes a lot of money, like the guy with the candy bars,
Mr. Beast, yeah.
Mr. Beast.
Yo, I will confess I've been watching his show on Prime. I know it's like probably something that people don't like, but I've been enjoying it. What can I say?
So I haven't, so I've heard many people refer to the show. I've heard many people refer to him. I've never actually watched an episode of his stuff. Um, Someone who I
So it's
used,
interesting. It's
yeah,
really interesting. I mean, I like it for not. I like the meta understanding of it. Of like, this is what the most popular YouTuber on the planet is making, and like, why is this the thing he's making? Right? Like,
yeah.
they're crazy. Um, what has he learned that we don't know, or like what turns into a billion clicks like that? It's
Well,
just
I think some of it
mental.
is just, doing stuff over and over again and seeing what hits. But even then, it's just luck. Like, look at
Oh, it's
Pewd.
yeah, it's momentum, right? Like he's famous now because he is famous, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, look at PewDiePie. Like,
hmm
he was just a gamer goofing off, just in college, having fun, having a real world job. And then he became more popular and more popular. And then, like you said, he's like, you start becoming more popular because you are popular.
yep. Yeah, you get that momentum.
Oh, here. So look on Twitch. I'm going to show you the difference between
Yeah, yeah,
putting
I'm
it
on your
on
Twitch. Yeah. Give me
multiple
a sec. I gotta
coats.
mhm.
So I know it's going to be like a delay. So this is like
Okay.
the difference between putting a coat on top of multiple coats of Nova Orange.
hmm
And then I just realized I missed two spikes, which
Okay.
is going to cause me problems, but that's fine. I'm just putting the fluorescent orange on top of blue. This is actually on top of, I think, yes, this is blue. So it doesn't show up well. Kind of looks watered down, even though it's not.
It really does. Yeah.
Which maybe
It's
that's
not
what you
like
want.
completely opaque, but yeah, yeah. I can see why this is valuable, right? Like it doesn't instantly give you that mega hard hit of orange.
Yeah. And I mean, even these bright ones that are wet right now, when they dry, they're going to look like this. And I'm okay with that because when you still hit it with a bright light, it's so shiny. Versus like, but here I have like multiple coats of Nova Orange and it's going to look darker to that. And I mean, also I'm zoomed in significantly. Like you could see the hairs on my arm
Yeah,
with how zoomed in. So,
it gives a good reference for like it's like the rough equivalent of the banana, right? Like,
oh man, I should go
um,
grab a banana that my daughters are gonna eat tomorrow morning and just keep it on my desk.
so you have a banana for reference. I love
Yeah.
it.
I actually joked with Sheila that I should 3D print a yellow banana,
Mm-hmm.
and I could just have it there on my desk at all times. So I have the banana for reference.
And this is weird, but my mom's second thought for me for Christmas was a 3D printer, and I was like, oh,
Bamboo
thank God, maybe
P1S.
not. Oh
Bamboo
yeah,
P1S.
she was talking to somebody who was giving her ideas, and I'm like, I mean, that's an incredible gift. Tremendous. It would have been. I mean, it would have been tremendously generous, but I'm not ready.
Okay. I mean, well, I
Happy
told
for
you.
you guys to be 3D printing. You guys got it on lock, right?
Yeah, and I told you I'm printing that temple for you.
Dude, I'm excited. I got plans. I'm gonna make us. I mean, so we were gonna talk about resolutions a little
Oh,
bit,
go
right?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so
Sweet.
one of the resolutions is I want to paint 100 points of bulk ropes.
Okay.
And I'm going, in the words of Ninja, I'm going full ball sack.
Okay.
I'm doing my best on everything. Which is why I'm here painting this frog, which I probably could have finished in like an hour with an airbrush, but here we are. But I don't just want to paint him. I want to paint a really sick display board for him, and I want it to be two parts, and I want one part to be like lava themed, and that's like probably where the temple goes, right?
Mhm.
And that's where all the like bulk ropes themselves are going to be, and then the second part is going to be like water themed and like beach themed, and that's where all the actual brine bloods are going to be. And so it'll be like this 2-part board, one part that's like fire and one part that's like water. So that's my project for this year. I've given myself 12 months. I think it's enough time, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think that's where my heart's at. That's what I'm thinking about. That's like kind of my number one goal this year.
I think probably I should be able to get the temple painted by, or not painted, but printed for you by end of January, depending
There's
on.
no haste because I'll be painting this all year, but yeah, that would be sweet.
Well, I mean, we do have 4 P1Ss, which is not a humble
Good.
brag. Another that's
y'all
like a.
Y'all are ballers. You're going
No,
hard on the painting game on the printing game for sure.
I mean, it's like I don't think
Sheila
my
prints
wife
more than
necessarily.
you, or as much as you. Who paints more or prints more?
So for a while there, Sheila was printing more than me. But when I get on a tangent and I just start going, when I get kicked for like terrain, like when I was helping with Jason with doing stuff like that, and those buildings and stuff like that, then I was probably taking the lion's share of the print time.
Okay. What does your wife print? I feel like my wife would like printing if she knew about it.
She prints. I think I didn't I give you one of the dragons? Did I not?
I think I've seen one.
All right, I will print a dragon for you that like Sheila normally prints. So what she does, and this is like the joke, that she will print and then she posts them up into different yard groups. So like most of them, she'll go and she'll subscribe to someone's Patreon, so she can then be at their tier level to be a merchant tier.
Okay.
And then with that, she will then print and sell things like so they're called multi-color prints. So they'll have 4 or 5 different colors.
Okay, I think I've seen this kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an advanced kind of printing, though, right? Like this didn't exist a couple of years ago.
No, this is not so Bamboo was really the one who got it going. So you used to be able to, if you wanted to stop and do a different layer and stuff in printing, you take that time. But now with the AMS, so the automated, or I think it's automated management system. So yeah, AMS. It now on the fly can just do filament changes. And it's quickly too. Like the filament changes less than probably 15 seconds. And so I can print, you could print up to 16 different colors at the same time. I don't think we go past 5.
16 colors. Like you can get a lot done with 16 colors.
Oh, yeah.
So, can I ask a dumb question?
Go ahead. There's no dumb questions.
There are dumb questions. I absolutely believe in dumb questions. But, okay, so a printer, a paper printer, only has 4 colors usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
CMY, and then black.
Yep.
So, I mean, in theory, like a 3D printer with even 4 colors could print every color.
Yes.
Except there's some caveat to this, which is my question.
So what happens is, like, let's say, for example, you have like bright red and you want to get it to be a dark red. You can print a black behind it, and you can try to do that, but it's going to waste colors. So what you can do a little bit easier, so yes, you can do that, or you could print like a yellow behind or stuff like that. But what we really find easier is just have it, 5 colors. And sometimes what we do is we'll buy, like Sheila or I will buy a STL and then do the merchant level on it. And then because the people who designed it don't have an AMS, or like they won't have a bamboo to even think about it, then myself or Sheila have to go in and hand paint it digitally using the bamboo slicing software to then paint it. And then we will print it then in, different filaments. And most of the time, like with some of the stuff she's printing, it's 2 centimeters, sometimes up to 4 centimeters. Like, it's not big. And you don't need all the extra colors. You don't even need the layer of depth in color. So like doing the black behind or the white behind and then doing color on top of that. Because most of the times people are just happy to see it multicolored, and they're happy that if they scratch it, you don't see the color come through. Like, so if you scratch a painted model, like what we're painting right now, then you're going to see whatever the color is underneath. When you're printing in PLA, you're printing, millimeters deep, if not more, depending on what you're under.
Okay, so I think I'm picking up what you're saying. This is probably about the ability of like a standard printer to print in depth.
Yes.
Right? To put multiple dots over each other, and that creates a color. And you can kind of do that in a 3D printer, but not in the same way exactly. And
well, there are new printers that can print almost exactly what you're talking about with like a paper printer, but they're really expensive.
Really expensive, okay.
Whereas like a P1S, so a P1S with a AMS on it. So the P1S, it's this bamboo P1S is the type. And then AMS is the automated management system that's on top. That's like a little bit over $1,000.
Yeah, it's not like cheap, but it's in the buyable range.
Yes.
Right? Like that can be purchased.
Right? Whereas like, if you want one of the ones that you're talking about $25,000 for the printer, plus, if not more, plus $1,000 a month, if not more, in digital rights. Digital rights, and then each of the resin bottles, because it has like I think 16 resin bottles, because it's actually printing in resin all these different colored resins at the same time and curing each layer. So when it does that, because it doesn't even just print in 4, it prints in multiple resin. I think it's 16 different resin colors to try to get every single shade. And because they were trying to sell it to miniature companies, but some miniature companies don't want to do that because it's stupid expensive to run this thing. Because like it has, it's just because the way it does it is it puts down a powder coat almost, and then has to hit it with the UV light and then do the additional powder coat, or sometimes the mixing of the powder coat, and then it actually does the entire thing at once. I found a great video on it. I think it's Hero Forge. Maybe it's Hero Forge or something else. Another company. They have now offered that you design your print, or you design your miniature on their website, and then they will print it in color. But the problem with it, when you do it, is it comes out looking like this. So I'm going to show you. If you look at my Twitch, I can get the camera to adjust.
I'll look at the Twitch.
It's kind of pale.
Okay.
So this guy is not even close to being finished. He's just at work on it my free time.
Okay.
But this is what those colors come out. Nothing's vibrant. It's not super bright. Whereas if you take him versus like one of these pieces, it looks so much more. The orange looks more bright. The blue looks more bright and stuff like that. But then again, this piece is 2 inches from foot to spell on the top of his hand. So when you're looking at across the table, no one cares. I mean, I do.
Enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's good enough. Like, I care.
It's going to satisfy someone who's not a painter, and someone who is a painter isn't going to, like, they're going to paint, right?
Yeah, they're not going to buy that. They're going to paint. And that's fine. Like it's like when we were talking about the other episode, like, do what makes you happy. And if you just want to play the game and and you can either dedicate time to painting or to playing, and you're like, look, I don't enjoy painting, I have the money to, to have a painter paint for me, there's no shame, at least in my opinion, there's no shame in having a painter paint for you.
I'm 100% with you. I've absolutely thought about getting my army's commission painted. Like, I have no judgment on that front for sure.
I mean, up until COVID, I made some great money painting people's 40K armies, and I hadn't played 40K at that point in time for 8 years. Yeah, for like a hot minute, and I was painting Necron armies and Tau armies. Like, it was like super easy armies too, which I say it's super easy because, you spray paint it gray, and then you're going to come in with, some gunmetal, and then you're going to come over with, a layer of green if it's Necrons, and then you're going to do
I'm
the
with
weapons.
You. Those are the easy ones, right?
Yeah, those are like super easy.
If there are easy things in those in 40K, it's those armies.
But I made a good amount of money painting 1850 points of Necrons. And I even told the guy, I was like, how about this? I was like, because I didn't want to just take his money. And I was like, how about I just teach you how to slap chop this super quick? And then you now know, and you never have to pay anyone ever again. And he's like, so he was a single E6, and he's like, no. He's like, I do a lot of TDYs. He's like, I want to get these pieces, give them to you, you assemble them, you paint, you prime them, you paint them, you give them back to me after they're sealed, and then I give you money. And I was like,
I get that.
Yeah,
that made so much sense to me for a long time, right? For a long time, I only painted because I wanted to play. And if I'd felt like I had the money, I would have absolutely done something like that.
I mean, I've paid for a few commissions over the years, special pieces. I would go to I had a guy who was a Golden Demon Runner, and he painted 2 pieces for me because I wanted a specific effect that I had seen in a magazine. Or I guess actually, I was gonna say online, but no, it was in a magazine. And I was like, "Can you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I could teach you how to do it." I was like, "I've tried." I didn't go to him just seeing the picture and having him do it. I was like, "I have tried this 3 times and stripped it with green stuff, not green stuff, simple green each time." I was like, "I'm at the point now where I would like you to do this. I know you can. I've seen you do it. Can you please do this?" And he did, and he did great. And it was amazing. And after he did it, I actually bought another piece, and I tried using the way he told me to do it. And I tried my best, and I didn't get it close to what he did. And that's fine. But I can say I tried.
Yep. Yeah, you've given it a go, right? I mean, there are some painters that I would want to own one of their pieces just because, they're a little bit famous, and I really like them, and I think it would just be awesome to own something that they've done.
Yeah.
Marco Frassoni is high on my list. I love that guy. I'd love for him to speed paint something for me.
Yeah.
The speed paints look tremendous.
Oh, I mean, some of it's wild though.
Painting, right? It just that'd be a nice piece of art for my house.
But I mean, it's wild though with what they consider a speed paint, and then you're like, that would take me 10 hours, and you crushed it in 90 minutes, if that.
No, I mean, it's I could spend 200 hours and I would not get there.
Gotcha.
And he does it in, I mean, they're just that good.
Yeah, and I mean, that is, I remember Dallas Kemp was never undervalue yourself, and I was like, Dallas, I understand completely. I was like, but some people have skill in some things, and some people have skill in others. I was like, I do not have the time to dedicate it, and I don't have the raw talent to do that, and that's okay. I'm not saying I'm a shitty painter. I'm a decent painter. I don't have the time to make myself an amazing painter.
Yeah, and I don't know, you just only get so many hours, right?
Yeah, it's do I want to?
I love that there are people that are really, really good at things, but I don't need to. I don't need to be jealous of them. I don't need to be able to do all their things,
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love to be at like his skill level or some of the other people's. But I was like, I'm not like, that's what I was saying. Like, I'm not a shitty painter, but I don't have the time to do that. And I can appreciate your ability to paint that well.
Absolutely. And it'd be a weird world if you could only appreciate things that you could do, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's like, I'm like very interested in like strongman and things like
Mhm.
that. And like, I don't want to compete in those sports, right? But I love seeing what people can do when they push themselves in many different ways, right?
Oh, Eddie Hall
Kind
is
of the absolute
crazy.
physical. Yeah, I mean, he's my favorite. I'm glad you mentioned him. Yeah, he's just such an interesting fellow.
And from what I've heard from other people, he is super nice, super fun. Like, not just is he a good, or is he strong and, can he train? But he, like, wants to make someone laugh. And I was like, that gives me, like, a happy fuzzy, because I do,
Totally.
I'm like, wow, dude, you're amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's really great. And I mean, he wanted to lift the world's strongest deadlift, and he gave everything for it.
And he did.
I
And
respect that.
you know what? I appreciate also that when he was doing that, like, once he hit his goal, hold on, I'm trying to get the camera to, there you go. Once he hit his goal, he wasn't like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this and I need to be the best forever. He's like, no, I'm good.
I love that he stopped, right? I mean, that's a lot of wisdom right there, right? And he's still standing, right? He's still on top of it. We'll see if somebody overtakes him this year.
I think
But,
Thor is going to. Like,
I mean, Thor looks really good. There's no doubt.
but like, if you look at it, like, Eddie Hall's been encouraging Thor. Like, how many people, when you're at the top of your game, or you like beat someone, because that's who he beat when he became the world's strongest man, and there was no anger or frustration or anything like that. And it's like, yeah, you did great. Now go ahead and beat me.
Did
I'm
they
not gonna.
actually have a boxing match? I can't remember.
They did, and Thor
I
beat
know it was
him.
scheduled. Yeah.
But also Thor's like what, 9 inches taller than him, and has like 4 extra inches of reach.
I mean, and Thor moves more like that kind of athlete, right?
Yeah.
Like Eddie Hall is very optimized for strength, I think, based on his size and stuff.
You don't realize how tall Eddie Hall is until, like, you see him standing next to a regular person. You're like, oh yeah, he is like
so wide, right? Like,
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what my goals are for 2025.
Goals, yep.
Because I have a major move coming up here mid-year. My goal, and it's not a high bar, but I want to make something that it's achievable.
Dude, I'm an achievable goal guy. I'm not a stretch goal guy. I'm an achievable goal guy.
So my goal is to paint 60 points of models. 60 points.
Why 60?
So I was gonna do a point a week, but I was like, I can do more than a point a week. But here's the caveat with it. It can't be something I've already put paint to. So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna finish this Abyssal King, and there we go. That's like 30 points.
Okay, I feel slightly attacked. My 100 points of
no.
I want to paint. I've already painted like 24 of them.
No, but like that's.
I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. Like I was like,
I get your point, right? I know you're not attacking.
Like mine, I want to do the command box for Gravediggers for the Signar. That's 30 points there. And then we should get the rest of Gravediggers, hopefully, fingers crossed. Excuse me. We should get the rest of Gravediggers here, or at least some more Gravediggers in the coming year.
Dude, I'm excited for you to have a Mark IV army. I think that's awesome.
Well, I mean, I would much rather have a Menoth Mark IV army. I'll be honest with you.
I know, dude. I feel I get that.
And I would love for them to publish a novel on everything that's going on. Just because, for like, you were there when I was chatting with stuff like in our chat with Jay, that like I want to know what's going on. I feel like we don't, like, yes, I would love to get the new Mark IV Menoth, because I know there's gonna be a Zoo Menoth, or there's gonna be something like that. There's gonna be some sort of new Menoth. But I'd like to know what's happening with the heroes of old. I would
Yeah.
like, some progress. Oh, I'm zoomed in on the right thing. This is the problem. So with having it zoomed in so much, I start painting something and I realize I'm not painting what I'm looking at. Like I started painting the shoulder and it zoomed in on the hand. And I was like, well, that's not going to help.
Yeah, there's like a whole set of skills you got to learn to do this, aren't there?
Yeah,
Like,
there's,
a whole bunch of things.
I mean, luckily, with having the top down camera, like if I am painting off frame, you'll see it.
Hmm.
But I want to get better into how I paint. And I want to, because I have the camera over my right shoulder, like zoomed in. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm not zoomed in the right part. I mean, it's just
Yep.
like a skill you have to learn.
So I like the goal. I think you should shoot for 75.
You think I should,
Because 75 is a playable list. And if you think it's too much, you should shoot for 50.
well, so this is what I'm going to say. So I was going to say 52, but I was like, if 52,
Okay, 52 I get because
it'd be a point a week. And I figured 60, because like 30 would be a thing where if there's no more grave diggers come out, like if we don't get actual grave diggers, I can just do 30 points for the Signar command box and 30 points for the Kadorian command box.
Oh, I
And
see.
then when I'm up at Fort Drum, I can do demo boxes with the 2 command boxes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where the 60 points come.
That's a full demo box. Okay.
Yeah, and it's gonna be, and it's not just gonna, pump and dump. It's actually, doing a nice, high quality. Keeps zooming in the wrong spot. Yeah, like to make it look. So if someone comes into a game store and I'm doing demos, to make it look good.
Yeah. I mean, it is a pretty big goal. Those moves are so hard.
Yeah.
I've never done one with kids. I can't imagine what it's like with kids.
Well-
There's no aspect in my mind where that's easier.
Yeah, doing it with multiple kids, and then, I don't think I told you this. Joe, we're getting a second dog at the end of the month.
Oh wow!
Yep, we're getting
Very exciting. What kind of dog?
another golden retriever.
Oh, I love golden retrievers.
And,
Great quality dog.
This one is called like English cream, so it looks more white than like the regular golden. Like how golden retriever, like the belly is normally white, so the entire dog is white instead
Ooh.
of just the belly.
I met a golden retriever named Butter once, and I wonder if Butter was this type of golden, because she was that cream color all over. I bet she was.
Yeah, so we pick it up at the end of the month, and my daughter has decided that it's either going to be called Snowball or Toast.
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 Okay, I'm definitely a fan of silly names for dogs. I know some people have human names for them. I'm a silly names guy.
Well, the reason my son's dog's name is Martin is because its complete name is Martin the Warrior, after the
love it.
Redwall series.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, can't wait till my daughter's old enough to read that stuff.
Just read it to her, man.
Yeah, she's like more interested in turning the pages than like actually listening to what I have to say. But we'll be there soon. I believe it.
So, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I used to read. So Alec Jr. had to have been 2 weeks old, if that, and I was reading to him Codex books for Warmachine. Or I would be reading, or out of the Kindle, I'd be reading him different books, like Angels of Darkness for 40K or stuff like that. So,
I guess he doesn't really. Yeah, I see.
so
point.
So I'd be reading to him, and then, so when he started getting into reading, because those are the types of books, like I would read him kid books, and we'd do all the different like picture books with words at the bottom and stuff like that. But here he is 10, and he is reading at college level. And Morgan is 8, and she is reading at, 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
That's you give them the like, oh, these are good books. Read, like, and it's not we force them. Like we're like, oh, we don't tell them you have to read these books, but those are the books they got read to as a kid, and then they're like, yeah, that's the book I want to read.
they're like interested in those stories, right?
Mm-hmm. They want the complex stories.
I hope my daughter's a voracious reader. I certainly was.
Well, don't push it. So here's the funny thing with ours, like, and we kind of laugh at this, is for my kids, the punishment for them is we take their Kindles away. So
man, that's really funny.
yeah, my dad bought the kids Kindles when I think it was actually when we first, because the kids used to use our Kindles, but kids are very rough on electronics. And Alec Jr. broke my Kindle when we were moving back here because he didn't put the cover closed on it, because I did like a hard cover on my Kindle. So he left the Kindle open, and then it got pushed in, like he put it in his little backpack because he was 8 at the time, and it broke. The screen broke, and I was very frustrated. And my dad's like, "Hey, don't be mad at him. Be happy that he's reading." Mm-hmm. And my dad bought both of the kids Kindles, and now because they're theirs, and we've stressed it to them, like they are so focused on making sure they take care of their Kindles. But then it's like, it's like people are like, well, what did the kids want? I was like, they had like an Amazon gift card. They're like, I don't want them to buy toys or games. I'm like, no, they're gonna buy books for their Kindles.
Yeah, I mean that's what I want, right? That's smart.
And yeah, so that's
a lot to learn in that whole regime, isn't there?
Yeah, there's so much, like, if you make it was like my dog thinks an ice cube is a treat, and my daughters think that fruit is a treat. So my daughters will choose fruit and produce, like carrots, like baby carrots, or cut up cucumbers or strawberries or grapes over candy. Because we just were like, this is like,
because you just act like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, also we think fruit, like getting good quality produce is a little bit more expensive, but it is a treat. And
I mean, I agree. Yeah.
So our kids, that's what they think of. Like, don't get me wrong, you put a piece of candy in front of them and say, here, eat this. Alec Jr. will choose the candy, but the girls would choose fruit. And there's some things that Alec Jr. would also choose, like like, not to say healthier, but like the less expected choice. And it's just like one of those parenting things. But it's just like this thing of like, one of the ways we got the kids to counting is by doing like modified versions of like board games and Warmachine and counting on dice and doing math. And yeah, like sometimes an 8, a 9, a 10-year-old, they don't want to lose, and they get very frustrated when they lose. And like that's just a maturity issue. But
okay, are you the kind of dad who do you always give 100%?
100%. Sheila and I both do 100% at all times. We don't pull punches. When Alec Jr. was first getting into Pokemon, Sheila was crushing him into the ground.
It's fascinating to me because I just like can't imagine a world where my child beats me in a game. But like, it surely at some point happens, right? Like,
it does. I mean, I don't know. I think it does, yes, but I think it happens more on the kids when they start playing more Mario Kart than us. So they can be like,
they get more practice.
So then they will start beating you, and you're like, and you're like, I don't have the time to dedicate to going and doing missions on Mario Kart.
Okay. Yeah. You're not. Okay. It's a good point. Full of wisdom tonight, Alec.
I mean, I don't know about that, but that's definitely one of those things that it happens, and you just you have to accept it. But no, like we don't pull punches when playing games with them. Like I don't pull a punch when playing Warmachine with Alec Jr. Like I will play, like I won't necessarily play my super ultra competitive list. Like you've played me when I'm playing super competitive, and you've played me when I'm playing casually. That is two different things. So
Yeah.
I will play
Two different
casual. Yeah, I will play casually with him when we play like Warmachine and stuff. Because he doesn't need to go. Like he doesn't need to just play against a super competitive list. There are adults I don't play super competitive with because that's just not what they. That's not what they want.
Yeah, no, I mean that's how I approach that too, right? Like I try to figure out, okay, I want to play hard, but I don't want to play my like 100% list, you know. That's
Yeah.
in some situations.
And so like that's how I kind of treat it with him when we're playing. I'm like I don't need to crush you into the ground, but also if I can get an assassination turn 3, I will do it. I
It can
mean,
happen, right? If it's on the table, like
yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I think probably when he very, very first started playing and I was like teaching him the rules, but once he got like a handle for it, then yeah, like it was one of those things like, bud, we're gonna play and it's just gonna be how it goes and we'll see how it goes. And there were definitely times we had to like stop and take a break for a bit because he couldn't deal with that. And then we would come back in a little like in a week or two and we would then, work on it. And that's just
yeah,
one of those things like that's just, parenting or teaching people. Like I think it's harder to teach um him
hmm
because I because he's so articulate and he's so intelligent, it is hard for me to remember that he is also 10 or like when I was teaching him when he was 8 because
yeah.
he
Oh man, that's funny. But I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and so that was just like a thing for me having to remember because he talks like an adult sometimes and you're like, oh, I'll treat him like an adult. And you're like, well, no, like he doesn't have his frontal cortex is not developed to the extent where he can just accept getting crushed.
man, I struggle with that, and there's like I have no excuse, right? Like I just like
Well, I think I told you, like,
I
I get more upset at myself when I make a mistake than my opponent beating me. Like,
yeah.
Joe, you have beaten me many a times. If I make a mistake that led to you beating me, I will beat myself up in a heartbeat. And that's actually one of the other things I'm trying to work on for this coming year is not being as hard on myself when I make a mistake and lose.
Yeah, can I say something
Go
along
ahead.
those lines?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we should do more takebacks as a community.
I think it's 40K that made it that I don't do that. Like I
Oh
will
really?
let my opponents. I think you've seen it at the game store, or even when I'm playing against you. Like I'm like, yeah, definitely take it back. But I think how I was taught to game is if you make a mistake, the best way for you to learn that is um, by not taking it back because I will personally think about it for months. I make
Oh,
one mistake of moving up an extra inch or not asking fully questions. I will think about that for months.
I think what you're saying is like correct, but what do I want to say? I think it's the best way to learn, but I think also like just not everybody's trying to learn, you know?
Well, no, that's why
And
like I'll
we
let
don't admit
like
that,
if
right? Like, so I feel like we should normalize taking back mistakes, at
well,
least like locally, you know?
I mean, that might be one of the things where, like, when I tell my opponent, I'm like, hey, yeah, you take that back. Let's try this again. But it's probably one of those problems. I'm probably, you know, encouraging them to play like me because I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. But I want you to do that because I've been playing this for 2 decades. But
hmm
eventually they probably think, oh, well, I've been playing it for however long. I shouldn't take it back. But yeah, that's maybe we should
Yeah.
do take backs. I don't,
I mean, I think none of us are pros, right? None of us have like near-term aspirations of like going, winning some big tournament, right?
I mean, you
And I
and
think we all
Taylor,
just,
yeah, I think you guys are
I,
going to be pros.
oh, I don't think so. My time is, I'm retired. I'm just enjoying War Machine, right? Like, and I think we'd all be happier if we did more takebacks. I mean, and there's like, within reason, right? Like, there's some stuff you just can't take back because you just can't rewind the game, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh man, I meant to do this order of activation slightly different, or like, those kinds of things. Like, um, there's like clear situations where you could rewind,
I mean, you're
I think
probably
those
right.
should be really open to take backs, and like I don't know, you're pretty hard on yourself. Jay's hard on himself about those things. Like,
I think, like I said, I think it's, doing like wargaming. So I started wargaming in the early 90s.
hmm
So we're going on 30 years of wargaming and,
totally, totally.
20 something years of playing Warmachine. Of that, 15
Yeah.
years competitively.
hmm
So that's,
Oh, I agree. It's a hard habit to break, right? And like you went so hard for so long and were so successful, like. But I don't know. I'm feel
I,
like we might all be happier if we rolled back the standard a little bit, at least locally.
well,
I know the broader. I think the broader War Machine community should too, but I don't expect them to. But
next time we're at the game store, remind me that I said I will do take backs if I screw something up. And I'll be like, all right, fine, I will. And now we have recorded evidence that says I will do some take backs.
oh man, that's good. I think you'll be happier for it. And also, like,
Maybe.
you're giving your opponent a better game. Think about that part of it, right?
I
Like,
mean, I think part of the ego is like who beats you and who beats me at the game store. And you're playing Scorn, and I've been playing Protector of Menoth.
hmm
And up until some of the new stuff that's been coming out, we were holding our own. That just shows, like, no ego. That shows we are pretty good at the game.
yeah,
Like, it was like when people were telling me, like, oh, wait till you get a Mark IV army and start playing. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. That's a compliment. But also, I like my faction. But,
not gonna
like,
lie, buddy, I'm doing worse with my Mark IV army.
what?
Uh,
No.
well, I'm not doing worse. It's just I haven't actually had to learn in a long time. God, learning is hard, man. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, you're learning like a whole different, like, think about this. Like, when a new piece came out for Scorn, let's say, like, not even a new caster, like a new solo, a new unit, you knew you might not know directly how to integrate that in, but you could kind of figure it out, and make it work. Whereas now you're learning everything from scratch. Also, a lot
no,
of your games have been against
totally right.
cricks.
Yeah, and I'm like playing some pretty good players.
You are, you are.
So I'm not, I'm not sad about it. But it's just like it's interesting to be learning, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't mind losing for the same reason that you don't mind losing, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, like I will lose. Like, it was like at Nova. I will go and lose, and it's just like it's rough. Sometimes it gets rough, like taking beatings. But it's more on realizing that I didn't practice like I should have. Like, not even that I should have. I didn't have the time to practice. And then, so I wasn't as sharp as I was. And then being tired and my back hurting. Um,
yeah, dude, yeah, it's a lot of things, right? And
um,
we'd practiced a lot in the spring, right? But
we
like
did.
coming up in the summer, we kind of like transitioned to doing other stuff. Like we
Yeah.
get to Nova, and it's just like a different thing, right?
Yeah. But I think possibly
I love what you're
doing,
doing with the white, by the way.
oh, thank
It's
you.
really working. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I did the black first, and
hmm
then I've been doing the white, and I blended, um, what was it? So originally I was doing ivory, but I didn't like ivory, so I did pale yellow with light
Mm.
umber and uh, dark golden brown, and then I've been slowly kind of adding the colors in so that each area is a little bit different. Because when you do coral, each area is a little different.
That's a good point.
And then I have the transparent brown that I'm gonna eventually hit on top of it um, when I do it.
I mean, I think it looks great. It's a really good effect.
Yeah.
It just
Well,
makes me excited about this model.
oh yeah, it's gonna be
Also afraid of this model because, yeah,
because you're gonna need two of them.
no, because I'm gonna need 200 hours. I don't know. No, I'm gonna cheat like the airbrush, like a lot.
So
But
airbrush isn't cheating.
well, it's a different time commitment.
It is, but I mean
think
it's
you often accept a slightly lower quality than you could get with a brush.
Oh, that's
you
true.
Get it,
Yeah.
You get 100 times faster, probably.
Yeah, that is very true. All right, I'm gonna step away for a second because I gotta blow my nose again.
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
for it.
I'm gonna let you talk to the Twitch streamers. So
I am going to take a picture of this frog I've been working on, and I'm gonna post it to our chat, and I don't know what the outcome of that will be.
all right, I am back.
I just took some pictures of my frog. I know it wasn't the best chatting.
No, that's okay. I'm hoping
I-
eventually. So I've been looking at how to do it, that I could then put you on screen if you wanted, or invite you into the Twitch stream so that
Oh.
people could look at both side by side.
Yeah, I'll admit I've never done a painting stream before. This is interesting, Alec. Like I'm kind of seeing why people do this, right? It's fascinating to like watch you paint while I'm painting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was funny. I used to watch, and then I would paint alongside. Like when Privateer Press used to do their streams, and you would watch like Dallas or Tony or John or any of them, Jordan, and they would paint, and then you would like, I'd watch the chat or I'd listen to them, and then I would like type something in because it wasn't me talking, it was just me, typing something in.
Yeah.
And but like they would say something like, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this technique," and they'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm not good. Yeah, let me try it like that." And then they show you, and you're like, "Shit, I could do that," and then you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
And so I've oh, go ahead.
No, you.
I was gonna say that. So sometimes it's just one of those things. Also, it's kind of like when you go to the game store and you all paint together. You're painting with other people. Because sometimes, like in game stores, it's not just going and playing. It's painting, chatting, having fun. Talking about why you want to paint what you're painting and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's actually the next thing I want to learn Jay's technique for painting terrain. I think his guard towers are really beautiful.
Oh, the copper and the tarnish and the worn stuff he does.
No, I think it's very beautiful, and it's quite different than how I normally paint. So I would like to get a lesson from him.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But
Like
you know
said,
what?
Lately, I've been painting super bright things and like things that are almost a little bit cartoony, and I feel like he's got realism in those things. So I'd like to learn that.
Yeah, I definitely can do that for terrain. I've been doing that for all different terrain I was painting for so much. Which is why I like to sometimes take a break from terrain and be like, I'm going to paint a piece.
I mean, you are definitely painting a piece right now. This is the centerpiece, for sure.
Yeah, which is funny because it's not even from my army.
I know, right? But it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for Richard to put this on the table.
No, I can't wait to kill it. I mean, what? Jay's killed it. I played against it as a proxy one time, and I just ignored it.
I feel like that you either have to know you're gonna kill it, or you have to leave it alone.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's like classic. How do you deal with big centerpiece thing, right? You ignore it. You kill it swiftly. If you do anything else, like, you're sad.
Yeah.
Do you have any other goals for this year?
I want to
You've
paint.
got a big year with a move, but
So I have a big thing. I want to, this isn't painting wise, but I want to print a piece of terrain for each of our local community members.
Oh, that's dope.
Something that's like, that will work for their faction and for what they're doing. And I want, so that way, you know, when I move, each person has something to remember me by. They're like, oh, hey, there's that piece of terrain. Like, I think with you, if I give you that temple, you're going to be like, oh, damn, this is going to be part of my display board. Or, you know, even
Or I'm gonna
like if
I'm
I
gonna play this in the local terrain, right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm hoping for you, I can help you. And this is when you talked about, like, you mentioned the other day with the lava. If I can make it so the lava is coming out of the center of the temple, going down some of the steps
oh
and
man,
meeting the ocean.
yeah.
So
I mean,
having
that
the,
is
so
the thing I'm
to
thinking
do
about. hmm
to do your, like, so on the right side of the board, let's say that's where your ocean is. So to do sandy grit and then you know, self-leveling a bar resin on top of that, and then do UV resin and do like the waves, and then drill in after everything's all set and beautifully painted, you know, because you'd paint like the water and the sand and everything we'd put underneath it, and then drill in spots for magnets. So then you can then take that as your tournament board. Because like I used to see people do that all the time in 40K. I don't see it as much in Warmachine. I have.
I would definitely do that, right?
I remember seeing a couple of people doing that at WTC, where they'd have beautiful like carrying tournament boards, and they have it magnetized on, so like it looked like a scene, like a battle scene.
Yeah,
And
we just like don't have that culture as much, but I hope we get it. You know,
I hope
like,
we do. I
building
mean,
it is part of making that happen, right?
so I'm hoping that I can do that for some of the people in our stuff. And I think for you, if I can have the lava coming out of part of the temple and going down the steps, and then meeting up with the ocean, and then we drill in and drop magnets. Yes, when something's not there, you'll see the magnet. There's nothing I can do to fix that. But if you can then take your pieces, and that would also force you to put magnets in your bases.
Baga. I mean, I love magnets, so I'm okay with
Okay.
that. We put Baga at the top of the temple, just like
Yep.
dancing his heart off, right?
Mhm.
Like in the middle of the lava.
Mhm.
Be sick. That's a great goal, man.
And
You're such a sweetheart, you know.
that is my goal.
Nope.
And let's be honest, if I can't get that done before the move, you might have to come up to New York and come pick it up.
Oh, it's like going up to New York. You're going to
Fort Drum, like Watertown or Carthage.
Carthage. How close is that to Saratoga? Do you know?
It's north. It's north of Saratoga. Syracuse is like 90 minutes southeast of us, of where we're
Okay.
gonna be.
So
like-
I was in Ithaca, New York, for my ROTC.
Okay.
I've done a few field training exercises up. But actually, we mostly went south. We went to Indiatown Gap. I think we went to Drum one time.
Okay. Yeah. Drum is cold. Like I've been talking to friends of mine who are currently there, and they're like, it is cold.
Oh man, yeah. Bring your snow shovel. Like,
Yeah. Well, one of the things Sheila got me for Christmas, she got me I can't remember what the jacket's called now. Land's End, I think. Jacket, like a super warm jacket, and it was my gift so that I have it before we move.
Yeah. Just thinking ahead. Also, she owes you that if she's gonna move you there, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sheila is amazing at thinking ahead on like, what are we gonna need, and stuff like that.
How do we live in this climate?
Man, those I like how those barnacles are turning out.
I do too. I think they really pop. They had a really good dimension, a lot of visual interest in them, right?
I haven't been
There's so
counting
much
them.
detail on this model, like I don't know, like
I'll count them eventually, just like I counted all the little spikes.
all the little spikes.
I'll probably go in and count all the different barnacles.
So
'cause-
I'll tell you one thing. I'm not sure I like the play style of Brown Bloods that much. I
Now,
might
do you
end
mean
up in
do you mean
old
brine bloods, or do you mean Croaks, because Croaks are playing different than Brine Blood, I think.
Okay, so it's a good point, but I think I do mean Brine Bloods in that I think it's a faction that's really reliant on buff stacking.
Yes.
Like, you stack 3 or 4 things on this one unit, and it just incredibly goes ham, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, the Marauders aren't particularly good by themselves, but the buffs they have access to make them really good, right?
Well, yeah, like the buffs, the solos, yeah, like all the different ways to... Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and they're like, it's interesting. I mean, they're not like old school trolls, were like kind of hard, durable, and like could hold positions. They're like hella glass cannon.
Yeah, I think a lot of Mark IV is.
Yeah.
And
well, Crix isn't, I think, which is weird.
So Crix has recursion.
Crix has all that recursion, and
But-
they have Furies, which give -2 damage, and like all these shield guards, and like they actually feel kind of durable to me.
So I got to play a game against New Crix using Resnick
Nice.
on Board Table, because I can't remember the last time I got to go out to the game store and actually get a game in, sadly. Because like the last time I even went out to the game store, I made sure Alec Jr. got games in, not myself, which is fine. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Like, it's eventually I will get games in again and stuff like that. So I got to play against New Crix with my Resnick 2 list. And so going against with Resnick 2 with double Judicators, I thought I was just going to get stomped off the board. But it might have been just how it worked out, but being able to time my feet and using that remove from play hamstrung him significantly. Also, doing Magical Blessed on everything also really hurt him. Because he's like, I'm going to be incorporeal. And I was like, I don't care.
No, I mean, you were talking about it today, and I can see why it's the counter, right? Or why it's a good counter, right?
Well,
you do a bunch of damage. They bring a ton of like random support things, and you just like sort of don't care, and the feet like goes a million miles.
Well, the fact of like, oh, great, you might shield guard over here, and that's great, but I'm gonna have 4 rockets along with all of those sprays coming in, and with the feet going on, when I kill something, that can hurt you, and it can hurt you badly.
Yeah, and
because
if you've got a bunch of shield guards, it's just gonna nuke them all, right?
Yep.
Like, no. Yeah.
And so I will get to the target that I want. And
actually, like, I mean, and you can do this while being like spell immune, right? So you don't get hit by calamity.
Yup.
That helps a lot.
It did. Well, it was kind of sad because I didn't get to do at not a single point that game did I do +2 damage. Not once did I do him a battle.
Yeah.
Because it was all shielding. It was all I don't want spells on me.
And you just don't kind of need it, right? Like
I would have liked additional damage.
Like, okay, yeah.
Like I lucked out with being just enough damage, even with taking the minus damage and stuff, that it was able to, with rolling 2 dice, drop the lowest, or 3 dice, sorry, 3 dice, drop the lowest because of the reliquary. I was able to just beat their armor.
Yeah.
But I also think I got a little lucky.
Well, and you've got soul protection too. I mean, which caster were you playing? Do you know? Were you
I was playing Resnick 2.
What were they playing?
I don't remember. They just did like Thrall span though. Like I'm gonna go in,
so
I'm gonna detonate.
Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah. And that was like I went into the game expecting to lose, and I just kind of slow played, doing like a little Death Star bubble going up the center, and that worked well for me. But also like the guy worked really hard on attacking my adjudicators because he was so scared of them, but he didn't fully commit.
Yeah. It didn't like. Yeah, and you can imagine like maybe there are like Nick Kane builds that play a bunch of. Well, I mean, you just don't care about incorporeal though.
Nope, I don't.
Right. I have been playing some of those stupid totems in Brian's, but like I feel like my attitude still is like, well, I'll just let the incorporeal stuff attack me, and then I'll deal with it afterwards. Like, because if you play the stupid totems, they just try to kill them. Like,
well, so for me, I was just trying to kill them as they brought up because every single time was Spell Piercer, and I was like, okay, you're corporeal. I don't care.
Don't care. Let's see. So, I'm gonna keep playing in the Null this year.
Okay.
The North American Warmachine League.
I have not gotten to play with that much. I got to play with it last year, for probably a little bit more than half the year, but then life got in the way, and I just had to stop.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm lucky that my daughter goes to bed so early, right? Fairly consistently before 7. So.
Well, for me, it was so I was trying to schedule my games in the evening, but Sheila and I have had a rule for many, many years that we go to bed at the same time, unless like one of us is sick or something, or someone has to get up super early in the morning. So I couldn't even stay up super late and play my games.
I mean, I like that rule. That's definitely a thing I'm giving up on, even like tonight, right? Like, I agree, it's a thing to absolutely value, right? It's going to bed at the same time.
Actually, so right now Sheila's on the couch. I think I didn't. So she was with one of our daughters, and then she. I think she's come down. I can't guarantee it, but she helped me with bedtime this evening, so it wasn't. So I could get this done. But yeah, as soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna do some dishes. I'm going to set up the coffee for tomorrow, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
You're a champion, dude. Yeah.
It's one of those things, like, I haven't got all these barnacles done. I've gotten probably a third of them.
Gotten a bunch. You got all their orange spikes done, too.
I finally got all the orange, except for those 2 that I missed, and I'm going to have to go and repaint again. Which, it is rough when, like, I look at the piece, and it's in front of me, and it's, 7 inches tall, and then I look at it on the computer monitor, and it's 22 inches tall, and I could see all the detail because I'm zoomed in. And I'm like,
I don't know, man. I think it looks nice. I love the blue that you've been doing on the fins. I think it's really nice detail. I think that turned out great.
Well, I got to finish this thing finally, and then I'm going to start painting the heads and the tentacles and some of the other stuff that goes on top of it. I've been looking at it. This is going to be a pain in the butt for him to transport, or just in transporting in general, because you're going to have the up here is where going to be the mast. Hold on, I'll go off the side. Right here. I'll zoom out actually. So here's where the mast piece is. That's going to comes down. And then you're going to have the tentacles here are magnetized, which is fine. But you have tentacles that come off the base over here and here. You have more tentacles that come off over here. You have the big tentacle that's holding the sail over here. So it's
making me regret thinking about painting this thing.
No, it's gonna be good. It's just gonna be. It's like, so
it's like it might be a multi-month endeavor for me. I mean, it is for you, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't got but I didn't really paint a lot of it during Christmas because the kids were sick and I wasn't seeing them painting it. Yeah. And then I didn't paint a lot of it during, Thanksgiving because I had family visiting. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably 15, 20 hours in on this thing, but a lot of that just doing multiple layers on like the orange.
Yeah, I mean, just getting all those little bits to pop, right? It's a lot of work.
But like once I get the rest of the orange, I guess the orange is done. So once I get the rest of the barnacles completely painted, and then I do the transparent brown, which is basically like a wash. I'm trying to figure out. I might do I'll do some highlight. Well, I'll probably do a wash, paint on wash with some of my ones that I was doing, like I don't think I'm gonna do anything like Null Oil or Agrath Earthshade because I don't think it's gonna do well. But I think I have a green and a purple wash that I might layer on just to help me blend a little bit. And then
I think that's better.
do like a dry brushing highlight on some of the areas. And then I'm gonna start doing the heads and all the different tentacles and stuff to make them all match. And then I will give it back to Richard.
20 hours left.
I probably have.
I don't mean to be discouraging.
No, I was going to say, I think I have probably 30, 35 hours left. Because, so right now I've been painting I started painting this, I'm like an hour and 20 minutes in on just today. And that was just barnacles, and I didn't even finish them. So I probably have another 45, 50 minutes of first coat barnacles, and then I have to hit them with the transparent brown. And then doing some of the highlighting, or do with some of the paint on wash, like I talked about doing around some of the down here, so that it makes the orange pop even further. And then do some of the dry brushing with to make the colors brighter. I forgot I still have the ropes and the lines over here. I still got to do over there.
That orange, it works, man.
It does.
It's like perfect. Yeah.
I mean, just looking at it, like if you look at it, I want to put it on the table, and like the hobby stores have those super bright lights. You're gonna see this orange is just gonna pop, and especially with the dark blue, and then having the sanguine base, which is what the red is. I kind of liked that the sanguine base was the perfect color for this.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And whenever anyone asks, I'm like, oh, it's sanguine base. Like everything else on this is pro acrylic. But the red, that dark red is sanguine base. And I don't think I've really painted anything. Well, I painted one Judicator one time, sanguine base, but painting that on metal pieces versus painting it on this, I think it made it look more like a real, like octopus squid type thing.
It's got the right texture, right?
Yeah, it does. But I think you need to go to bed because it's now 10:42.
I'm trying to sign off. Yeah.
Yeah, so
bedtime for me.
Thank you for everyone.
Appreciate the conversation. It was good to hang out, dude.
Thank you for everyone for coming out. We did kind of talk about it in a roundabout way, what our goals are for 2024, and we will see you guys in a week or two, and hopefully we'll have our co-host with us, Jay, at that point in time. So thank you everyone for coming out, and we'll see you next time.